Some of my favorite memories are of the rain. I sat in a small white room in a high-rise in Chicago, Illinois, looking out the large window that reached from floor to ceiling. The clack of a keyboard sounded behind me, methodical, melodic. A pause. Must have finished a paragraph, or deleted a word. The keys clicked again, filling the room with something almost, but not entirely unlike the silence that was present before it. I looked across at the pale teal that tinted the office building, and wondered what the people did there. I watched them plod back and forth between the windows, small dark shapes behind the tinted glass. I wondered if they were happy. Something crossed my vision just outside the glass. Multiple somethings. It looked almost blurry, like the static of an old television. Lighter somehow. I noticed it was raining. I hadn't been able to see it against the landscape of sprawling buildings that filled the periphery of my vision. Some of my favorite memories are of the rain. You know you don't have to wait for me. I jumped in my seat. Sorry, I didn't mean to freak you out. I breathed a sigh of relief before responding. I want to, and it's lovely outside. Luke, is it raining? Yes. She responded with a derisive tone. Lovely. Well, I suppose it is if you're not in it, I replied warmly, turning back to the window. The clicking resumed. Back to the window. The people on the sidewalks below kept pace with each other. Some held umbrellas, and all stepped between dark patches on the concrete. It hadn't been raining long. There were still spots that had yet to be dampened, still dry, still safe to walk on without having wet shoes. Cars had their wipers on, but not all of them. It must not be raining that hard. I couldn't see the walk signal for the crosswalk. People walked, some ran, but all crossed with an irreverence of the cars that shared the road. Maybe they too want to get out of the rain. No bikes. All the cars blended together in an odd dance of black, white, and gray. Business cars. Nothing too exciting. Nothing to stand out. Very professional. Very formal. Very expected. Taxis provided an unnatural splash of yellow against an otherwise bleak scene. I preferred it bleak, honestly. Those rare moments when it's warm and overcast at the same time. When the rain comes down with a light breeze that wafts the scent of petrichor through the dark green leaves and cool grass. It reminded me of home. It reminded me of me. I wished I could hear the sound of the rain. I heard nothing anymore. Even the sound of the clicking that had been so soothing had faded to a wistful silence. Staring blankly at the rain contrasted against a brick building in the distance, I explored a memory. Memories of rain. I could see so vividly the front porch, smell the scent of grass, feel the cool breeze. I could almost taste coffee, or was it tea? And I heard the rain. I remembered home. I remembered me. I remembered when I was little. I remembered a game I would play. I would go outside when it would storm. The storms were the best because they made it more challenging. I carried a towel because I knew that was how you got dried off. I would run between various piles of scrap metal and cars, and I'd try to stay as dry as possible as I went across the yard and back. Going into the sheds or getting in the cars was cheating. I was always wet by the end of the game, and so was the towel. And that was what made it fun. I remembered that I frequently found my cat in one of those places when I would play that game. I remembered a particular storm in which lightning struck the large oak tree in our front yard. I remembered riding my motorcycle in high school. Stupid kid. I didn't even check the weather that day. I was just excited to get some fresh air. And I was so proud when I outran the whole storm front and made it home almost completely dry. I remembered walking in the rain with a good friend in undergrad. And the puddles were so big that they filled parts of the street. We walked for hours and we were soaked. It was so much fun. I missed her. I remembered driving home from seeing her one summer night. I drove for hours alongside an amazing storm, right on the edge the entire time. I could smell the rain, the warm breeze through my open windows, but it barely rained on the road I was on. I drove for hours to get back home. Through small towns and some of the most rural areas that I'd only seen a few times when I was driving with my parents as a child. The thunder was a distant rumble, and the experience was surreal. And for the first time in my life, I had felt truly happy. I remembered having to stop in a little town close to home in a car wash to get out of the hail. I called and talked to my parents while I waited. They were happy too. I remember rustling, a laptop shutting. I turned around and gathered my things. It was time for class. Luke, is it raining? Some of my favorite memories are of the rain.